In the shadows of 17th-century France, a chilling darkness simmered beneath the gilded surface of aristocratic life. Beneath the opulence and societal grandeur lurked a brutal world where power was maintained through fear, secrecy, and often unspeakable cruelty. It was within this brutal landscape that the story of Marie Meline Dobé unfolds, a woman whose life would become a harrowing testament to the terrifying potential of scientific hubris and moral corruption. Marie was born into privilege, yet her early years revealed troubling traits, an unsettling fascination with death, and a complete lack of empathy. Her marriage into a noble family did little to tame her dark curiosity. Instead, it became a playground for her deadly experiments. From poison-laced wines to clandestine chemical concoctions, Marie's obsession with death grew more twisted with each passing year. Her mentor, a mysterious military scientist, seduced her into the dangerous world of poisons and chemicals, transforming her into a ruthless serial poisoner. Her crimes were meticulous and methodical. She tested her deadly blends on family members, servants, and foes alike, each victim a pawn in her coldly calculated pursuit of control and destruction. Her motives went beyond greed. They bordered on a disturbing craving for power over life and death itself. As her reputation darkened, whispers began to circulate of hidden laboratories, of lethal recipes secreted away in notebooks, of a woman whose hand wielded death like a sword. Then came the unthinkable. Her associate, a fellow chemist, died under suspicious circumstances, leaving behind evidence implicating Marie in a series of clandestine murders. The revelation shook the upper echelons of society, exposing the unseen menace of poison circulating among the aristocracy. As authorities closed in, Marie fled abroad, living in paranoia and despair. In the dim glow of candlelight, the 17th-century French prison chamber exuded an aura of grim foreboding. Cold stone walls, slick with dampness and centuries of neglect, echoed the suffering within. Heavy iron bars cast relentless shadows, sealing off any hope of escape, while the air was thick with a mixture of mold, stale linen, and the faint scent of blood, remnants of countless tortures past. The atmosphere was oppressive, a silent witness to the barbaric justice that defined an era obsessed with maintaining social order through ruthless means. Within this bleak interior, the faint clang of chains and muffled footsteps punctuated the silence, heightening the senses to the imminent horror. The chamber's centerpiece was a crude wooden frame designed specifically for torture, dark, brutal, devoid of remorse. Nearby, a metal funnel awaited its grim purpose, ready to be inserted into a victim's mouth, a device that would serve as the conduit for cruelty. The flickering flames cast shifting shadows over the equipment, barbarians' tools masquerading as instruments of justice. The era's society thrived on a brutal dichotomy, a veneer of civility beneath which lurked savage punishments. Nobles and commoners alike faced horrific methods aimed at extracting confessions, punishing dissent, or enforcing obedience. Justice seemed less about fairness and more about instilling fear. Torture was an accepted norm, an unspoken rule that the trial's outcome often depended on pain and suffering rather than truth or morality. Secrets kept at great peril. The dark secrets of the powerful, manipulated through cruelty, kept the cycle of silence. This shadowed world was a theatre where morality blurred, and the boundaries of human endurance stretched beyond what was imaginable. In such an environment, fear ruled supreme, consuming the weak, validating the ruthless, and creating legends of horrors so grotesque they would be whispered about for centuries. Marie Meline Dobé was born into privilege, yet from a young age, unsettling traits shadowed her outwardly noble facade. She exhibited a disturbing fascination with death and decay, often wandering the estate grounds pondering macabre secrets no child her age should comprehend. Her lack of empathy set her apart. She found a perverse comfort in observing suffering, her dark curiosity fueling a silent obsession with the forbidden. Married into an influential noble family, Marie's life seemed poised for stability, but beneath the veneer of society's expectations, she embarked on a sinister path. She immersed herself in forbidden knowledge, dark sciences whispered about in secret circles. Her mentor, a mysterious military scientist, became her guide into a world of poisons and lethal chemicals, opening her eyes to the possibilities of death as a tool for control. Under his tutelage, Marie refined her deadly skills, turning herself into a meticulous poisoner with a growing obsession for mastery over life and death. Her crimes grew increasingly brazen and terrifying. Using her knowledge, she systematically poisoned family members, servants, and rivals, each death carefully orchestrated to obscure her involvement. The motives behind her murderous spree were rooted in greed and a disturbing desire for power, a craving to manipulate life itself and dominate those around her through fear and poison. With each victim, her confidence and cruelty deepened, fueling a toxic obsession that blurred the lines between science and savagery. Her unsettling pursuits remained hidden until an accidental death of her trusted associate exposed her secrets. Incriminating letters and poisoned recipes surfaced, trembling the fragile fabric of aristocratic society. Marie's dark obsession was no longer confined to the shadows. Her horrifying deeds threatened to unravel an entire social order built on privilege and secrecy. Hidden beneath the opulent halls of her noble estate, Marie Meline Dobé's secret laboratory was a twisted sanctuary of death. Narrow staircases led down to a damp, shadowy cellar where the faint scent of chemicals and decay hung thick in the air. Here, the poisoner's dark enterprise unfolded unnoticed by the world above. Shelves lined with dark glass vials, each meticulously labeled with cryptic symbols, stretched along stone walls, casting eerie shadows in the flickering torchlight. Recipes handwritten in her delicate, precise script detailed poisons lethal enough to silence entire households. In the dim corners, rusted metal equipment, mortar and pestle, distillation apparatus, and syringes awaited her dark experiments. Obsolete scientific tools, stolen or crafted, bolstered her deadly ambitions. Her notebooks, hidden beneath a loose stone in the wall, contained her most guarded secrets. Intricate formulas for poisons derived from exotic plants, minerals, and animal toxins. These recipes revealed her obsession with control, each concoction designed to kill silently and swiftly, often leaving no trace. The laboratory also housed a collection of deadly chemicals, arsenic powders, belladonna extracts, and aconites stored in carefully sealed containers. She studied them as a scholar studies texts, understanding their properties, timing their lethal effects with scientific precision. The cellar's atmosphere was oppressive, a perfect reflection of her moral depravity, a space where life was routinely extinguished with a meticulous cruelty. Her victims, often unknowingly, ingested these poisons after being lured into her deadly web, family members, servants, rivals, all falling victim to her scientific genius turned barbaric. The secrets in that cellar weren't just about death. They were about power, mastery over life itself. To her, poisoning was an art form, a twisted symphony of science and malice, concealed behind layers of darkness and silence. Beneath the shadowed corridors of aristocratic salons and clandestine laboratories, Marie Meline Dobé's victims often vanished without a trace, their lives slipping quietly into the silent abyss of her deadly experimenting. It was a haunting symphony of quiet death, no screams, no cries, just the slow, invisible toll of poison and neglect. Her family members, once proud and revered, fell victim to her insidious craft, succumbing inexplicably to illnesses that mystified even the most seasoned physicians. Friends and servants, unaware of the lethal hand guiding their demise, quietly succumbed to mysterious fevers, sudden paralysis, or the silent seepage of poison through their veins. Her early victims, often chosen for convenience or betrayal, drifted into oblivion with no witnesses to their suffering. The quietness of their passing created a chilling lull in the grand halls of her estate, where whispers of betrayal mixed with the scent of death in the air. It was as if their lives ceased to matter once dissolved into her dark recipes. Her notebooks, filled with meticulous chemical formulas, revealed her obsession with vanishing lives, each victim a test subject, progress marked not by remorse but by scientific curiosity. Among her victims was a loyal servant who once dared to question her methods. One evening, he drank her poisoned wine, and within hours his body betrayed him, collapsing into a silent, unrecognizable heap. The slow fade of these lives masked the brutality, an unseen massacre under the guise of domestic normalcy. Even more disturbing was her ability to erase their memories, to leave only the ghostly echoes of their presence in hollowed-out corridors. As the shadow of her crimes lengthened, whispers of her deadly arts travelled across courts and corridors of power. Yet for a long time, her victims remained silent, never revealing their torment, never crying out beyond the unseen veil that concealed her horrors. After spiraling into secrecy and chaos, Marie Meline Dobé knew her life was no longer safe within the confines of her aristocratic circle. Her dark deeds, hidden beneath layers of poison recipes and scientific notebooks, could no longer remain concealed. Fearing imminent arrest, she swiftly fled France, slipping across borders to the Netherlands, a haven for those fleeing justice. Her escape was meticulous. She assumed a new identity, adopting aliases and disguises to evade detection. Living in constant paranoia, she kept her movements clandestine, always looking over her shoulder, fearing that the shadows she once cast might consume her. Despite her efforts to hide, the relentless pursuit by authorities was unyielding. Word of her crimes had leached through the networks of aristocracy and law enforcement, prompting an international manhunt. Surveillance intensified. Informants and spies tracked her across several countries, piecing together her trail. Her fugitive status weighed heavily on her shoulders, each day spent in hiding, a reminder of her guilt and the justice she evaded for so long. She became a ghost in the European clandestine scene, a whisper of terror among those who whispered about her wickedness. Eventually, after years of fugitive existence, her luck ran out. A keen detective, piecing together inconsistent stories and sightings, uncovered her true identity. Arrested amidst a tense raid, she faced the grim reality of her capture. Her time on the run was over. The long arm of justice had finally caught her in its relentless grip. Bound and defeated, she was transported back to France, her fate sealed. The pursuit had been merciless. No matter how far she fled or how many identities she assumed, her crimes haunted her, dragging her back into the shadows of her terrible past. The room was icy and foreboding, shadows dancing across damp stone walls as Marie Meline Dobé was strapped to the cold, unforgiving torture table. The air was thick with a heavy silence, broken only by the faint drip of water escaping a rusty funnel. Her eyes darted wildly, lips trembling, as a morbid metal device was slipped into her mouth. The executioner meticulously inserted a slender funnel, sealing her lips around its narrow opening. Then, with deliberate, cruel precision, he began to pour water. The initial pour was slow, just a few quarts, yet Marie's body responded immediately. Her stomach distended painfully, swelling as the water found its place inside. She gasped for air, convulsing, her face crimson with strain and suffocation. A wave of nausea swept over her, her vision blurred. But the torment was only beginning. The water kept coming, first 8 quarts, then 16, each increment causing her flesh to stretch grotesquely, each breath more labored than the last. Her pleas were muffled, unheard beneath the relentless flow. Tears streamed down her face, mingling with sweat and snot as her mental resilience frayed. The physical agony overwhelmed her. Her body felt as if it might burst apart. Her mind raced, trying to find some way to endure to escape this nightmare. But exhaustion weighted her down, and the crushing pain made her stomach feel as if it had turned to a bloated, waterlogged shell. Yet, amid this suffering, her tormentors demanded confessions, names of allies, details of her poisons, secrets of her dark pursuits. As her defenses crumbled under the unyielding assault, Marie's voice, hoarse and trembling, finally spilled her secrets. Her voice barely a whisper, she admitted to centuries of deadly experiments, to poisoning and manipulation, all to satisfy her twisted obsession with control. Strapped tightly to the cold, unyielding metal table, Marie Meline Dobé's eyes darted nervously around the dim, shadowy chamber. The air was thick with a suffocating mix of dread and anticipation. A sinister contraption awaited her, an ominous funnel, meticulously fitted into her mouth, ready to unleash its cruel torment. Slowly, a steady stream of water began to pour in, creeping past her trembling lips and flooding her stomach. The initial sensation was manageable, almost bureaucratic, an uncomfortable fullness. But as the flow increased, so did her horror. Her abdomen swelled visibly, distending beyond human limits, the pain mounting with each passing second. Her stomach, once a modest cavity, now resembled a grotesque balloon and stretching to bursting. Each quart of water added a new layer of agony, pressing painfully against her organs. Her skin, pale and clammy, shimmered in the flickering torchlight, shiny with sweat and emerging tears. Her breath grew ragged, shallow gasps echoing in the silent chamber. Suffocation lurked behind the relentless flood of water. Her ribs, strained and compressed, begged for relief as her body fought for space. Pleas and screams were muffled, swallowed by the metal funnel choking her mouth. Her mind spiraled into a tumult of fear, pain, and helplessness. The sensation of her stomach stretching beyond capacity became unbearable, each surge of water a reminder of her vulnerability. Her cheeks bloated, her eyes widened with terror, and her body trembled uncontrollably. The torturers watched impassively as her resistance waned, her will to endure dissolving into despair. Finally, as her body threatened to rupture under the relentless pressure, her consciousness blurred. Tears streamed down her swollen face, and with her last shreds of strength, she was compelled to confess. The water torture had stripped her of her dignity, transforming her into a waterlogged, breathless shell, her suffering a gruesome testament to the brutal cruelty she endured in the name of justice. As the relentless flow of water continued, Marie Meline Dobé's body betrayed her in ways she never anticipated. Her stomach bulged grotesquely, distending to its limit as gallons filled her insides, pressing against ribs and organs in a torturous embrace. Her once composed facade cracked, replaced by desperate sobs and incoherent pleas. Every inch of her skin seemed stretched tight, veins prominent, her face a pallid mask of agony. The icy water invaded her senses, drowning not just her body, but her resolve. Her eyes darted wildly, seeking salvation or an escape that would never come. Her mind teetered on the brink of madness, battling the overwhelming pain and the terrifying realization that her body was nearing its breaking point. As each quart of water was poured, her breath grew labored, her chest heaving with the effort to draw in enough air from her submerged lungs. The silence of the chamber was broken only by her muffled screams and the faint slosh of water swirling within her swollen belly. Her thoughts flickered, memories of her dark experiments, her plots, her thirst for control, fading beneath the mounting wave of agony. In her half-conscious state, she tried to resist, to hold on to her grasp on reality, but her body refused to cooperate. Her muscles trembled uncontrollably, and her eyelids fluttered. It was only then, amidst the suffocating darkness created by her torment, that she realized her consciousness was slipping away. In a final act of defiance, she managed to gasp, hoping for mercy, for death, perhaps, her words reduced to garbled whispers. Just as her will was about to break completely, a flicker of recognition sparked. Her tongue loosened, and she began to murmur the names of her victims, revealing her darkest secrets with trembling lips. Her confession was not born of remorse, but of sheer physical exhaustion, her body collapsing into a fragile, waterlogged shell. Her resolve shattered along with her physique, and she succumbed to the mercy she had once denied herself. As the flames consumed her body, the crowd watched in silent, uneasy reverence. The once proud noblewoman, whose dark secrets and deadly pursuits had terrorized an entire society, now lay broken and unrecognizable. The fire flickered wildly, casting grotesque shadows on the charred remains, a grim reminder of the horrors she had committed. There was a strange beauty in her end, an almost poetic justice, yet beneath that was the stark reality of her suffering. Her physical form had been reduced to ash, her features twisted by pain and fear, a hollow shell of the woman who once wielded poison as her tool of power. Her death marked more than the end of a life. It signaled the closure of a chapter steeped in secrecy, cruelty, and madness. Justice, brutal and unrelenting, had finally caught up with her. The authorities hovered nearby, their faces grim, knowing they had delivered a punishment suited to her heinous crimes. But beneath the law's harsh resolution lay deeper questions about morality. Was her fate merely a reflection of her own darkness? Did her suffering fully compensate for the lives she had taken, the pain she had inflicted, the knowledge she had twisted into deadly chemicals? As smoke billowed into the grey sky, whispers circulated among the onlookers. Some saw her end as a needed cleansing, a warning to others who might follow her path, while others felt an unsettling unease. For in that moment, her story became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that even in a world obsessed with honor and reputation, secrets kept in shadow could eventually unleash unimaginable horrors. Her legacy lingered not just in history books, but in the very idea that science and power, when wielded without conscience, could lead even the noblest astray. In her final silence, she became a symbol of justice's ruthlessness and the darkness lurking beneath civility. Her fate underscored a haunting truth, that some sins, no matter how hidden, demand a brutal reckoning. The story of Marie Meline Dobé left a permanent mark on history, casting long shadows over European aristocracy and the dark corners of scientific curiosity. Her gruesome trial and the brutal water torture she endured became a chilling symbol of the depths to which cruelty could descend in the pursuit of justice or revenge. As her body was burned at the stake, her physical form barely recognizable, a disturbing truth lingered. Beneath the veneer of noble society, secrets of poison, betrayal, and torturous interrogations thrived in the shadows. Her case scandalized the upper echelons of society, exposing a terrifying intersection of scientific mastery and barbaric punishment. It ignited fears among Europe's elite about clandestine poisonings, clandestine laboratories, and the terrifying possibility that their trusted courtiers might harbor deadly secrets. The image of a noblewoman reduced to a water-logged husk, begging her own death, underscored the brutal reality that laws and morals could often be bypassed by those wielding power and knowledge unchecked. The legacy of her story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of scientific hubris intertwined with unchecked authority. It reminds us that the thin veneer of civility can hide horrifying deviance, acts of cruelty justified by a twisted sense of justice. The water torture, once a method of extracting confessions, became a symbol of barbarity that haunts legal and ethical discussions to this day. Society's refusal to confront the potential for science to be weaponized against the innocent reveals a dark truth, that beneath civility lies an abyss capable of unleashing unspeakable horrors. Even centuries later, the tale echoes as a warning about the perils of trusting those in power without scrutiny. Marie's story isn't just about her suffering, but about the dangerous allure of secrets kept in shadow, secrets that, if uncovered, threaten to unravel the very foundations of justice and morality. Throughout history, tales of cruelty like Marie Meline Dobé's serve as stark reminders of humanity's capacity for darkness when unchecked by morality or empathy. Her story underscores how power, scientific hubris, and societal tolerance can create a perfect storm of brutality, revealing the thin, fragile line separating justice from barbarity. The torturous water ordeal she endured was not simply about extracting a confession. It was a grotesque demonstration of how far cruelty can be justified under the guise of law and order. This dark chapter also prompts us to reflect on the dangerous allure of scientific knowledge divorced from ethics. Marie's expertise in poisons and chemicals, once a tool for control, became a weapon of unimaginable suffering. Her case exemplifies the perils of placing power into the hands of those who lack moral boundaries, where even the pursuit of truth or justice can spiral into torture and death. It reminds us that advancements in knowledge demand responsibility. Without moral restraint, they can be weaponized against the innocent. Furthermore, her story elucidates the societal failings that allow cruelty to flourish. The aristocracy's protection of dark secrets, the silence around their abuses, and the brutal justice system that offered no mercy highlight how endemic cruelty can become when justice is manipulated by those in power. It raises uncomfortable questions about complicity and the extent to which societal structures enable atrocities to occur behind closed doors. Yet, amid these reflections, there is a sobering lesson. Cruelty often leaves scars that linger long after the victim's final breath. Marie's near dismemberment by water is a visceral symbol of how fear and violence can leave indelible marks, physically, morally, and psychologically. These stories serve as cautionary tales, urging us to uphold human dignity, question authority, and resist the compulsion to inflict suffering in the name of justice. Ultimately, understanding this darkness is essential. It helps illuminate the boundaries we must never cross and underscores the importance of compassion, ethics, and vigilance in the pursuit of justice. Only then can we hope to prevent such horrors from ever occurring again.